Hey there, Ed McCormack here, founder of the crypto education platform Dchained. In today's video, we're going to talk about some huge news coming out of South Korea that could impact the entire crypto world and some of the returns that you can expect in the back half of 2021. So let's jump in right now. So if you've been following the crypto markets, you'll know that different regulatory groups across the world have come out and shared their skepticism and doubts overall about the legitimacy and ultimately the way that cryptocurrency operates in general. And it's created a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, otherwise known as FUD, that has ultimately led a lot of institutions to halt the way that they were previously buying in 2021, and often a sell-off by many different retail investors around the world. We saw this in England with Andrew Bailey sharing his skepticism, which ultimately led to many big banks in England stopping their support of crypto services, to the US around different ways that cryptocurrency was going to be taxed and potential implications around new policies introduced by the Biden administration, all the way now through South Korea. And this is a big one because South Korea just released the financial transactions report that outlines a requirement where all cryptocurrency exchanges need to be registered with established commercial banks by September 24th. And as part of this registration process, they need to have a contract in place that illustrates the partnership with that commercial bank. Now, if you look at why is this important, you have to understand that South Korea is one of the biggest cryptocurrency countries in the world, both in terms of volume and market cap. This is a crypto community that has really been sort of a thriving market for years. It's been sort of that backbone in Asia when China, on a whim, every other year comes out and puts restrictions and limitations temporarily on cryptocurrency. South Korea has remained steadfast as this open and free market for the crypto world. And it's in fact one of the first countries at a large scale to legalize cryptocurrency. Now, with that being said, its four largest exchanges, which is Bithumb, Coin1, Upbit, as well as Corbit. The three of those four are actually three of the top 15 crypto exchanges in terms of overall market volume. So we're talking about a lot of money are flowing through those pipes. Those four already have established relationships with the commercial banks. However, this new act that just passed, the financial transactions report, ultimately is putting on a ton of regulatory scrutiny on the banks themselves. So it's saying to the banks, it's your responsibility, once you have an established partnership with these exchanges, to make sure that they're following the right type of compliancy, both in terms of anti-money laundering and know your customer. And ultimately, the banks are now sitting in a position where they question, is it really worth all this extra scrutiny? And to help answer that question and help provide better evaluation of these crypto exchanges, the Korea Federation of Banks has put out different guidelines to help stipulate different ways that you can ultimately quantify whether cryptocurrency exchange is actually worth the risk of taking on the extra scrutiny. And that ranges from the levels of security that it applies to the thoroughness of their customer database, so how well do they know the customers, all the way through ultimately the corporate structure and transparency in the way that they operate. And while I mentioned before that there are four large crypto exchanges, otherwise known as the Big Four in South Korea, while it's implied that they'll be okay, that they'll get through this process somewhat unscathed, and even some of those exchanges like Upbit are starting to delist coins to help mitigate any risk that they might face during the assessment, it does pose the question about what about new entrants into the market? Oftentimes you'll find that new exchanges that come into any established market, and this could be any new technology company coming into an established sector it often brings innovation and new ways of thinking, and ultimately it benefits the customer at the end of the day. And these are the crypto exchanges that I'm most concerned with, because ultimately many of the large commercial banks have been somewhat mute, have been somewhat silent in terms of their interest in the crypto market in general, outside of just the big four. So it puts a lot of doubt on whether we'll see, any new entrants in the South Korean market, as well as what additional restrictions that these commercial banks are going to apply now on the crypto exchanges once they now do have these partnerships in place, because they're shouldering the burden of compliancy and regulation. So keep a close eye on South Korea, and ultimately how this new act, the Financial Transactions Report, is going to change the way that 3 of the top 15 exchanges in the world operate, and whether those South Korean investors start shifting and moving onto other exchanges, especially because many of those exchanges have native coins, like FTT for the FTX platform, like KCS for KuCoin, BNB for Binance. You get the hint. So keep a close eye on ultimately what implications that this ultimately has, and ultimately how other countries start to follow suit and follow the framework that South Korea has now laid out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, pound that like button, subscribe to this channel, come check us out at Dchained.com. We'd love to have you, and check out all of the content that we're putting out on a daily and weekly basis, as well as our live webinars that we're hosting every week. And until next time, happy and safe investing. I'll speak with you soon.